foundations. So what do web developers do? In short, they build and maintain websites. Okay, build and maintain websites. Web apps are also websites. Yes, web developers often work for clients who are trying to get their product or service into the web. The work is typically very project focused and involves collaborating with a team that helps to coordinate the client's needs into the end product. The client could be a tech company or an organization or a government. The work could involve front-end, back-end, or full-stack web development. Web development could be a good profession for you if you like solving logical problems, building useful things, and experimenting with new technologies. Web developers are in high demand, generally have a good work life balance. Well, I doubt it. Work life balance is good in web development. At company levels, corporate levels, in IT companies here in India, I know some people who work in IT companies, and believe me, they don't have a good work life balance. They are like, they every day they wake up and they say, oh shit, I have to go to work today. Why didn't I died in my sleep? And the thing, developers are high in demand. Well, for current situation it may change over time, but due to recession period, inflation maybe, and there are many international factors. This is also not so true, where it is true for the, what we can say, like the developers who are expert in their work, or maybe for newcomers the market is cold right now, cold hearted maybe. So let's get ahead. For some details, Wikipedia describes the breadth of the web development profession in their entry on web design. See, that's a clickbait, and I'm not gonna click on it because I'll get distracted. But just once, on time. Uh-huh. So I'm not gonna deep dive into it as it will take my time. If you have time, go and look into it. Web design, okay, it's like showing the history, how it evolved over time. So types of web developers. Earlier we mentioned that web development work could be in the front end, the back end, or the full stack. What exactly do these terms mean? Okay, the front end. The front end is the stuff you see on the website in your browser, including the presentation of content and user interference and elements like navigation bar. Front end developers use HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and their relevant frameworks to ensure that content is presented effectively and that user have an excellent experience. Okay, backend. The backend refers to the guts of the application which live on the server. The backend stores and serves program data to ensure that the front end has what it needs. This process can become very complicated when a website has millions of users. Backend developers use programming language like Java, Python, Ruby, and JavaScript to work with data. Full stack. Full stack developers are comfortable working with both the front and back end. At the Odin Project, we focus on teaching you full stack development, covering all aspects of web development. For more details, Udacity has a great blog about this topic. For maybe it's not like extra knowledge, so I should check what is it about. It's last updated on December 8, 2020, 6 minute read. Okay, let's give it a try. Three web dev careers recorded: front end versus back end versus full stack. So like I think what this article is doing is going in brief with what is written here about front end, back end and full stack developers. So consider it as exception if you understand what does these terms mean already after reading this. Okay, I'm gonna close this. Types of careers. So now what did you know about the different types of web developers? Let's cover what we mentioned earlier about the different types of clients and employees you may work with. Large tech companies such as Google, Meta and Amazon have their very stringent maybe hiring requirement. if, Sorry, if you successfully meet these expectations, they offer excellent pay, benefits and opportunities. Startups are a bit like the Wild West. For a junior developer, it may feel like a trial by fire because of the pace of development. Startups often offer slightly lower salaries and require longer hours, but they may also offer equity in the company and highly unique environments. Freelancer. As a freelancer, you could command a strong hourly wage and the freedom to schedule and design your own products. However, you would be responsible for getting your own work, which means less coding time. Getting your own work, managing billing from clients, which can be difficult, and being solely responsible. Strong people skills are necessary for this path. Consultant. As a consultant for a web consultancy, you would give up some of your freelancing wage potential but be able to focus more on the code and less on the hustle. This option also provides a good work life balance and pay. Finally, large older companies still need web developers. These companies offer a good work life balance, pay and benefits, but often move slower than a company that is highly focused on tech. Tools of the trade. These are some of the basic tools you will use regularly. You may not know what they are now, but you most certainly will going forward. A computer, Google, text editor, command line interference, CLI, Stack Overflow, Git and GitHub. I think nowadays, because it's 2023 and I've seen people using chat GPT rather than Stack Overflow to solve the problems they stumble upon while programming. I may be wrong, but it's I've read about it on many websites. Motivation. Learning to code is incredibly rewarding but can also be difficult and frustrating. The strongest assets you can have as a student are a desire to build a problem solving mind and persistence in the face of setbacks. The web development industry has a long history of successful developers with varying backgrounds, so people tend to care more about what you're actually built than how you got there. Why Odin? Okay, so this, do they have a link to? No. So this may answer some of my questions or yours as well, whoever is watching it. So why Odin? I want you to know that this will not be easy. Okay, there are plenty of other online curriculums for beginners, but they are often taught in an extremely isolated and controlled environment and cover only a specific topic. The Odin Project takes a realistic view of what you need to know and has you set up and work in your own environment, much like what you will be doing when you get a job. So I think what they'll teach you is they'll teach you like you are working and like you are you the what is the proper word for this, I don't know. So get it yourself. Okay, it acknowledges that you need a wide variety of skill sets and languages to reach an employable level. The Odin project is constantly evolving because of people like you who get further along in the curriculum and pay it forward by incrementally improving our content over time. Once you start to feel comfortable with the tool, start hacking on open source projects like the Odin project itself. Okay, the more you contribute, the more you will learn about what you can do, and the closer you will get to being hireable. These projects will also look great on your resume. Conclusion: hopefully, you have gained a better idea of what a web developer actually does and what your life might look like if you decided to take it on as a career. This has only been a teaser into this world of web development. In the foundations course, you will take a journey through the entire spectrum of topics that you will eventually need to know. This course jumps around to a variety of topics that you may be totally unfamiliar with, providing you a small test of each and then moving on. The following course will dive deep into this topic. You will build dozens of scripts, projects, and websites to cement those skills that will get you hired. Getting all the way there is going to be challenging. In fact, you should check out the post why learning code is so damn hard. Okay, I will look into it. So you have a good idea of the journey ahead is like, but what worthwhile thing is truly easy? Question mark. Yes, it's going to be challenging, but it's also going to be fun, and it might even be life changing too. Why are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? I can't even like read what's in front of me on the screen correctly. Wow. Additional resources. So this section contains helpful links to related content. It isn't required, so consider it supplemental. Tick 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 tick. So I'm not gonna go into the additional resources. You can if you feel like. So mark is complete. So let's go into this article. Why learning to code is so damn hard. What every beginner absolutely needs is to know about the journey ahead. Quincy Larson was just a guy in a suit in the office and decided to wanted to learn how to code. Oh, okay, it's a story. So as I also want to like improve my English and improve my fluency in English, I'll try to narrate this article. Let's see how it goes. What every beginner absolutely needs to know about the journey ahead. Quincy Larson was just a guy in a suit in an office and decided he wanted to learn how to code. So he asked around. He started by picking up a bit of Ruby, then found himself skimming through other languages like Scala, Clojure, and Go. He learned Emacs, then Vim, and even the Dvorak keyboard layout. He picked up Linux, dabbled in Lisp and coded in Python while living in the command line for more than half a year. Like a leaf in a tomato, the advice Quincy received jerked him first one way and then another until it finally taken every online course program imaginable. Ta-da! Dun dun. Suspense. By the end of it all, despite having ultimately landing a software developer job, Quincy got was convinced that the seemingly normal programmers I ran into were actually sociopaths who had experienced the trauma of learning code. Ouch! Does this sound familiar? Well, not to me yet because I just started. So let's go ahead. Phase 1, the hand holding honeymoon. It's really hard to blame anyone for coming into the programming industry with outrageous expectations. On one hand, you have heard rumors of how difficult programming is since you were young, like old wife tales meant to scare children into studying social sciences instead. On the other, the learn to code. Okay, let me get through this. Okay, on the one hand, you have heard rumors of how difficult programming is since you were young, like old wife tales meant to scare children into studying social sciences. So, programming is hard and fun according to the Odin Project, or maybe it is. So, uh, uh, I've just uh, I've just remembered. Maybe I'm losing the right word or not. I don't know. This one story that just popped up in my mind. There was a company named what was it? Whitehead Junior. Yeah. So they advertised themselves as coding, as a maybe learn to code company, or what we can say. Let's search Whitehead Junior. Okay, they are still operational. Surprise. So there was an ad. They created an ad about an maybe 8-year-old boy named Chintu who got like selected, or maybe I should play the video instead of trying to explain it, because it will kill the fun part, and also I have bad English. Chintu. Okay, I don't know if the video is still there. Yeah, it's still here. So let's see. You'll find it funny if you know how programming is. It's not easy, and also okay, it opened Facebook. Where is volume? So in this video what's happening, so the recruiters or maybe company managers, CEOs are fighting to hire this boy named Chintu for their company. And the surprise element is Chintu is 8-year-old, and he has learned how to code from Whitehead Junior. And see what comes next. Oh, it's funny. Oh, he's just
ये क्या दुनिया भर के बिजनेस वाले क्यों चिंटू ने व्हाइट हैट जूनियर पे कोडिंग सीखा
the person carrying the handbag asked, "What's this?" Woman, which is Chittu's mother, is replying like, "There are people from around the world, maybe company leaders or CEOs." And then he asks why. She says because Chintu has learned to code from Whitehead Junior, and they are here to take him or and provide him with job, or let me.
बनाया उसके ऐप में इन्वेस्ट करने
Okay, so that's the funny part. Chintu, which is 8-year-old, has learned to code from rightheadjunior.com. He made an app, and these people are fighting to invest on Chintu's app. See how, I don't know what is the proper word for it. How ridiculous, maybe. Okay.
किसने इस उम्र में ऐप बनाया? व्हाइट हैट जूनियर पे ऑनलाइन बच्चे कोडिंग सीखेंगे, ऐप बनाएंगे, जो क्या
See
पता
the interference. I think you have seen. Did you know what it looks like? Did it seem similar to me? If you have ever used Scratch, you know Scratch, which is okay. Let me show you. Scratch. So okay, so Scratch is like it is coding for kids, or also adults can use this also. It's fun. So it is like WordPress drag and drop interference. Okay, so I think they basically copied their concept. And also this company, Whitehead Junior, I think they have closed. Let me see. Many people like have filed a case against them that they are marketing or false marketing on the internet. Yes, so Whitehead Junior still operational. Okay, they are still going on. Byju's is not planning to shut down Whitehead Junior. So that's it. So let's come back to our topic. As I said earlier, I have this tendency or habit to deep down in like new topics and get distracted from the main topic. That's what happened just now. Okay, so I'll try to get myself on the track from now on. So let's get ahead. On the other, the Learn to Code movement has done a fantastic job of breaking down barriers and showing people that code is actually quite harmless. Tools like Code Academy and Treehouse reach out with the gentlest of touches to assure you that you too can not just learn to code but become a full-fledged developer as well. Suddenly, the problem isn't fear, it's an overabundance of hopes and high expectations. And for okay, and for the most part, introductory tools do a great job of guiding you like a child in a crosswalk past the big scary variables and conditional statements, and throughout the early phases of programming syntax. As you conquer one after another of their gamified challenges, your confidence rises. Maybe you can do this after all. How hard can it be? You are basically a developer already. What's this? Confidence competence. Gaining confidence, hand holding honeymoon. The hand holding honeymoon. Here's the problem, you're in what I like to call the hand holding honeymoon phase. Thought you may feel like the end is around the corner, you're only a fraction of the way there, this is just beginning. Charting the path ahead. Before we dive into the phase 2, let's look at the bigger picture. In this course, I'll walk you through the 4 phases of typical journey into coding and what you'll need to do to survive each of them. You'll also see how 2 key factors, the density of resources and scope of required knowledge, define this journey. The trek towards job readiness can be plotted in terms of how your confidence level changes as your capability increase. Okay, hand holding honeymoon, cliff of confusion, desert of despair, upswing of awesome, job ready. The learn to code journey. Click here to enlarge. Okay. So this is relevant relationship because your confidence is highly correlated with your happiness, and because the point where your confidence capabilities match is the best proxy I have for the sweet spot when you are officially job ready. We'll look into the unique challenges of the remaining 3 phases in a moment, but this is what each of them essentially involves. So the hand-holding honeymoon is the joy-filled romp through highly polished resources, teaching you things that seem tricky but are totally doable with their intensive support. You will primarily learn basic syntax but feel great about your accomplishments. The cliff of confusion is the painful realization that it's a lot harder. Let me zoom it a little bit. It's a lot harder when the hand holding ends and it feels like you can't actually do anything on your own, yet your primary challenges are constant debugging and not quite knowing how to ask the right question as you fight your way towards any kind of momentum. The desert of despair is the long and lonely journey through a pathless landscape where every new direction seems correct, but you are frequently going in circles and you are starving for the resources to get you through it. Beware of mirages of mania, like sirens of the desert, which will lead you astray. The uprising of awesome is when you have finally found a path through the desert and pulled together an understanding of how to build application, but your code still siloed siloed maybe siloed and brittle like a house of cards. You gain confidence because your site appears to run. You have mastered a few useful patterns and your friends think your interference are cool, but you are terrified to look under the hood that and you ultimately don't know how to get to production ready code. How do you bridge the gap to a real job? I have interviewed hundreds of aspiring developers over the past several years and heard echoes of their same story again and again. My goal is for this is that you approach the learner's journey with both eyes open and enough of a plane what you can avoid the common pitfalls of those who have come before you. Let's get back into phase 2. So I think the phase 1 is consider it as consider it as you are attending coaching classes as I am right now, so I can understand it better. Because what happens in coaching, like the teacher teaches the topic and you go when you go to your home, you rewatch the lecture or You just practice what teacher has taught you. But that's what the hand holding honeymoon is, or we can say spoon feeding. Like they are feeding you, they are telling you, hey, repeat this or practice it. You are not doing something on your own. You are not getting stuck from trying to code something by yourself. And that's why, like, don't don't get high hopes of like maybe getting high paying jobs, or thinking that you will be great at programming after completing this 3 month, 4 month, or 6 month course, because most of the course is spoon feeding. And the handhold honeymoon, the real learning is what you do by yourself. I think practice is what matters. Practicing and applying what you have learned and experimenting it, and getting into trouble means getting your code to break. Maybe I might not be correct 100%, but that's how I think it is. So let's go ahead. Phase 2, the cliff of confusion. So you are in phase 1 and hard holding honeymoon, checking off badges and completing coding challenges while your confidence and capabilities grow. This isn't so bad. What's all the fuss about? You arrived at the peak of irrational exuberance. Be careful, you are about to overstep a precipice that's broken many strong aspiring learners and relegated them to the coding is to hard camp. The precise moment this leap occurs is the first time you sit down at your keyboard, open up your text editor, and try to build a project from scratch. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. That while in hand holding honeymoon, you will feel stuck when you try this without spoon feeding, without any of the fancy in browser editors, scaffolded code, or helpful hints. Crap. You might stretch this out a bit by following tutorials, but no one has ever reached the skies without leaving the ground. And at some point, you are going to have to create magic from a blank text file. You just entered the second phase of learning, where confidence comes crashing down the earth, the cliff of confusion. So, the cliff of confusion. So you build, you fight and scratch your way to barely functional solution, but there's something missing. You are at war with bugs that makes Starship Troopers look pink. I don't know how to spell it. Penign. Penign. Okay. It feels like each victory has gained only by a stroke of lucky googling, and your confidence that you can ever figure this stuff out plummets. Starship Troopers bug attack. This is a particularly frustrating phase to see as an educator and to all participants in our industry. Programming may not be perfect for everyone, but we want you to make progress, because sometimes the unlikeliest of stories become the grandest successes. When the hand-holding ends and students are pushed off the cliff and told to fly, too many potentially awesome people are spiraling into the rocks of frustration without learning how to flap their wings. The scary part is that you haven't even gotten to the meaty stuff yet. The second phase, the cliff of confusion, is still very early. Once you've finally squashed enough bugs to end the 8 plague of Egypt and eventually finished a couple of projects, thus marking the end of phase 2, you are still just getting started. For those who are truly ready to make a career out of this, surviving the cliff of confusion is often the point where you decide to go all in with your new life, but too many are left behind, and unfortunately, you are just about to enter the desert of despair. The two key factors to at play. So, what really marks the difference between one phase and the next? Why was phase 2, the cliff of confusion, so awful compared to phase 1, the hand holding honeymoon? Understanding this will help you realize that it's not your fault at all if your journey looks like what you have just described. Basically, there are two key factors at work in every phase: resource density and scope of knowledge. Let's see what these are before exploring how they define phase 3. Resource density. As I said above, when you first start out, it feels like there are a million resources out there trying to hold your hand and pull you into coding. That's because there are. Okay, search for learn to code and you will be hit with a wall of helpful and useful tools, text, videos and tutorials, and frankly they are great. Never before have there been so many ways to start learning to code. Learn to code Google results 1 billion plus. Unfortunately, in later phases, the density of resources drops off fast. Anyone who's made the jump from beginning to intermediate can assess that there is a big difference between the amount of resources available when you first start out versus when you are first looking for help building things or sorry on your own without too much hand holding. This problem exacerbates as the amount of knowledge increases rapidly entering phase 3 and is one reason why we call the phase the desert of despair. Once you get past this and start to become comfortable with what exactly you need to search for, the resources return and you will be work with more technical tools and industry blogs and screencasts. Part of this is just understanding which question to ask. Here's the resource density looks like in each phase. Greater line density indicates more resources. Resource density. Okay, so at the hand holding honeymoon, there are many. Oh, they didn't mention the Odin Project. Never mind. Cliff of confusion. Stack Overflow will help me. Tutorials. The Odin. Okay, the Odin project will help me in Cliff of confusion. Free code camp. Rails app project. ठीक है. Okay. Desert of Despair will need me to go through textbooks, the docs, mock courses. Uprising of Awesome will need Railscast, professional blogs, corporate tech talks, the docs, conference speakers. Let's go ahead. Density of resources in each phase. Click to enlarge. Oh, it will enlarge this image. Factor 2. Scope of knowledge. Now, let me zoom a little bit. Okay. Now let's talk about a related issue, the scope of knowledge. This represents the total breadth of new topics you need to learn in each phase. Here's what it looks like. Okay, phase 1, basic syntax I have to learn, which is the hand-holding honeymoon. Phase 2, which was cliff of confusion. I have to learn how to build something and debug when I get stuck. Phase 3, which is desert of despair. I have to learn CS fundamental, computer science, object orientation, agile development, modularity frameworks, code smells, method decomposition, how to ask for help, and so on. So most of the things they mention I don't know much about them, but well, I'll get to know as I get ahead in my journey. Uprising of Awesome. So testing, best practices, optimization, architecture, data modeling and system. Then I'll be job ready. Then you'll be job ready also if you follow this according to them. So the scope of knowledge that's required in each phase. Okay, when you first start learning, the set of things you need to understand is narrow. Everyone, regardless of goals or language or background, needs to figure out what a for loop is, how to build conditional logic and other basic structures of programming syntax. There ultimately aren't even that many of the fundamental concepts of the scope of knowledge during the that phase is very narrow. As soon as you get away from the basics, you see a rapid broadening of scope of knowledge as you need to begin picking up things like a more difficult, like understanding errors and when to use the code you know how to use. This is different because there is no correct answer to a clear question. Things get fuzzy. When you progress into the third phase, the scope of knowledge balloons wider. When you need to understand what tools to use, what languages to learn, underlying CS fundamental, how to write modular code, object oriented, good style, and how to ask for help, to name just a few. Every trip to Google or Hacker News takes you down another set of rabbit holes. Okay, and overwhelms you with more things you don't know but feel like you should. You don't know what you don't know. Only when you have finally found some traction and left the desert does the scope again begin to narrow. By that point, you have found your chosen technology and its place in the ecosystem. You finally pretty much know what you don't know and can plot a path through it. You will continue to increase focus as you push onwards and into the beginning of your career. Phase 3, the desert of despair. With the understanding of these factors, you can see that the cliff of confusion is really just a turning point. The pain caused by the toxic combination of rapidly increasing scope of knowledge and a failing resource density results in what I call the desert of despair. In essence, the desert is where you know there's an end somewhere, but you don't know how to get there. I think I won't recommend it to just use AI directly, but you can get out of it if you use AI tools. But it will make your work easy and you will be weak. I think you will not be good at programming, or sorry, doing solving complex problems maybe on your own. So I won't consider going with AI in the first try. Let's see how it comes. Maybe I will use AI at some point. Okay, continue. The desert is long and fraught with dangers. You will find yourself down to mirages of mania. Along the way, dozens of tempting resources which appear to hold the solution you are looking for, but which will despite you once again. In a place where lonely and extents of each horizon line, maybe you sign up for couple mock courses from Coursera or Udacity or EDX, or you find a tutorial which prompts to take you all the way. You thought you learned the lessons of the hand-holding honeymoon, that there are no easy answers, but the temptation to seek salvation is too great and you fall for the promise that this one will get you to the finish where the others did not. Yeah, look, this is what I was talking about. This para right here. Okay, like in coaching classes, don't get this fake confidence boost like after completing this 4 month, 3 month or 6 month class you will be good at programming. What they are doing is spoon feeding you, so you really don't know how to do things, but you think you know how to do things, but you'll get stuck while trying to do things that you thought you'd do. Oh, let's continue. You can learn this stuff in a week or a month or a single college class, no matter what anyone says. So stop falling for that. So be aware of this. Stop falling for that. There is a lot more to learn than you probably expected. Even if you are able to get some upper runnings, it's hard not to feel lost in the greater scheme of becoming a true professional. It's difficult to measure your progress. How do you know what you need to learn, or if you are even learning the right things? Well, as the technologies change so often, this is right question, I guess. Even if you are pointing the right direction, it's hard to measure your progress. You might feel totally lost until the very moment when you are finally able to build something that looks and acts the way you expected it to be. But with enough perseverance and a good compass, you will eventually get your first few real projects launched, and you will realize that you're finally starting to get it. Sure, it's been hard up until now, but maybe this web dev stuff isn't so bad after all. Everything's coming up Millhouse. Everything's coming up Millhouse. Phase 4. The upswing of awesome. You made it through the desert and your confidence is growing. Congratulations. Your Google Foo is excellence and you're finally able to understand those details, industry blogs posts and screencasts. Maybe you have gone deep into particular language or framework and you have confidence that you can build and launch a functioning application. This is the uprising of awesome. Oh, I forgot to uprising of awesome. Gaining around with feedback, job ready, competence, confidence. All may seem well to the outside, but you know deep down that you are not there yet. You can make the application work, but what's happening beneath the surface? Your code is duct tape and sting, and worst of all, you don't even know which parts are terrible and which are actually just fine. Your periodic flashes of brilliance are countered by noob mistakes, and worse, a creeping suspicion that you still don't have a damn clue what you're doing. This is bipolar phase. You feel like half of you is a bulletproof developer and other half is a thin vein of effectiveness covering a wild-eyed newbie who is in way too deep. The further you progress, the more gnawing, I think I spelled it correctly, gnawing, gnawing sense of uncertainty grows that someone is going to out you as a fraud. You feel like you should be a developer already, but the distance between the code you're writing and a professional work environment couldn't feel further away. Eventually, through you'll make it. There's too much momentum not to. The desert of desire is behind you, and the cliff of confusion is distant memory. You're finally truly on the uprising. You are learning faster and more intelligently than ever before, and eventually you will have absorbed enough best practices that your Swiss cheese knowledge coalesces into production grade skill set. The uprising of awesome always takes longer than you expect it to, and it feels interminable because you are so close, but you will get there. If you are persistent enough in the right ways, the topic of a future post for sure, you will convince someone to pay you to keep learning. The job is yours. Learn to code and get a programming job. Me? Hey, did he mention me? What it all looks like. So now you have seen the road ahead and the reasons why it can be difficult. When you combine all four phases we just covered with the factors that define them, it looks something like the following chart. Learn to code and get a programming job. Meme. Okay, I don't understand. I think it's trying to. Oh, I don't know. It's one thing to know the path and another to walk. Let's get you started on the right foot. How to make through alive. The journey seems intense, and frankly, it often is. It's important that you understand what you're in for, particularly if you go it alone, but you don't have to. There are ways that short circuit most of this problem. Learning to code is rarely as easy as people make it out to be, but it also rarely as difficult as it seems in the depths of your despair. In this section, I'll introduce the key tactics you can use to keep yourself pointed in the right direction. Build, collaborate, set goals, focus, get feedback, get ahead. First, surviving the hand-holding honeymoon. Okay, so I think it will get us through how to survive. Like if you are learning from a Udemy course or Coursera course, EDX, or attending a physical coaching online classes whatsoever, how you can get into the 1% maybe, or get separated from the people who will get stuck more often due to spoon feeding. The plethora of available resources is the hand holding honeymoon make it a lot of fun. They do a great job easing you into the kind of logical thinking you'll need to cultivate over the coming phases. It's a great time to start learning to code, so try to enjoy it and keep these two tips in mind. Start by trying out different resources to find how you learn best and what sorts of projects are the most interesting to you. Maybe it's Khan Academy's quick challenges, Code Academy's in-browser experience, or Thinkful's one-on-one mentorship experience. Be open-minded and at the start, and ignore anything about what you should learn. All code is the same at this phase. Okay, yeah, it's a great approach. So, like how you learn. Well, do you learn by reading or watching? Choose for yourself what's best. The pick one resource and stick with it. Once you have found it, you're fit. Work through to the end of their introductory courses arc, which should give you all the fundamental foundational knowledge you need to write basic scripts and apps. Then get ready to start building your own. Okay. Second, surviving the cliff of confusion. Almost everyone will experience the cliff of confusion, because the only way to become a developer is to well develop. You can pretend to be building by signing up for tutorials which masquerade as complete course, but you are just putting off the inevitable. Tutorials are a good way to bridge from more high-touch introductory offerings, but you will need to wear yourself off the pacifier and face the real world at some point. 3 tips for making the transition to build on your own. Work with someone else. Okay, even another beginner, you will be surprised how much easier it is to debug an impossible error when sharing 2 pairs of eyes. Read other people's code to get comfortable with good patterns. Try to understand what the author did, what they did, okay. You wouldn't try to become a novelist without reading books as well, would you? Well, we'll focus on this in an upcoming post, but for now, keep your eyes open for and small problems or projects that the other people have written solutions for. Start small and build consistently. You should have interesting big projects in mind for the future, but you'll need to get uncomfortable debugging and searching for resources with bite-sized challenges. There are really no substitute for experience. Third, surviving the desert of despair. Once you have become comfortable debugging, your biggest problem becomes the fire hose of required knowledge and total loss of lost for how to learn it all. The desert of despair. In this case, what you really need is a strong path forward. The mirages of mania represents all the interesting sides, paths, and rabbit holes. Get skilled quick schemes which ultimately waste your time. So the keys to getting out of deserts of despairs are: have a strong goal for what you want to accomplish, because otherwise you will end up chasing your tail, learning all kinds of interesting but ultimately unproductive things. If you have the time to spare, by all means skip this. Find a strong path which leads directly to the goal you have set, and verify that it will actually get you there. That is where you need to dig deeper than the marketing slogans and smiling faces on courses, websites, or book checkers to ask, will this help me accomplish the goal I've set or not? Focus and avoid distractions, because distractions, as for me, are getting knowledge of something that I shouldn't. If you are the kind of person who's interested in learning to code, you are also the kind of person who gets interested by learning all kind of other awesome things. Okay, this sentence is describing me. Okay, insert the meme. I'm in this picture and I don't like it. When coding gets difficult, you need to be able to push forward instead of just trying out the next cool looking thing. If you are able to identify a path and stick with it, you'll eventually push forward to the next phase instead of spending months or years chasing mirages across the shifting sands of this desert. So basically, stick to one thing and keep moving forward. Don't get distracted by the scenery in between. Focus. Fourth, surviving the upswing of awesome. The upswing of awesome is one of the trickiest transitions. You can develop applications, but you really want to become a web developer. Getting past this phase and also into a job requires you to do three things. First, seek and follow best practices for programming. You need to understand the difference between a solution and the best solution. Best practices are a major difference between hacking on your own and building production quality code in a real job setting. Check your assumptions, because you have probably scattered by with some gaping holes in your knowledge that you didn't even know you had. So you need to diagnose and fix these holes. Okay, yeah, it happens sometimes. Basics, I think they are talking about basics. You should get your basics cleared first. Tackle the unsexy skills. There are rarely addressed but highly important for transitioning into a professional setting. This includes things like testing, data modeling, architecture, and deployment, which are really easy to breeze past but which are totally fundamental to good development. The key to accomplish these things and pushing through the upswing of awesome is to get feedback. Students who have learned entirely on their own may be productive but rarely have the kind of legible, modular, and maintainable code that makes them attractive in a professional setting. You need to work with other humans who will challenge your assumptions, ask piercing follow-up questions, and force you to fix the leaks in your bucket of knowledge. So, can it be done? This all may sound overwhelming, but I promised that many others will have preserved and survived this journey before you. By understanding the road ahead, you are already in a good spot to take it on, which a focus plan and access to the right kind of help. Obviously, there isn't space in this particular post to dig as deeply into each phase of the journey as we'd like, or to provide the kind of granular how to advice you deserve. This said, this is a journey which we are quite familiar and about which we are highly passionate, so we want to help in any way we can. our engineer emission program is blah 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 blah. Okay, now they are promoting themselves, so the article is complete, I guess. So this was the article. It's quite helpful, I think. So here we are, we have completed our lesson. I think second one, yeah, introduction. We have completed two topics in introduction. Our next topic will be motivation and mindset, which I'll cover up in next video, as this video is quite long, I guess. I don't know how much time it went till I was recording. Let me see. Okay, it's already been 1 hour and 16 minutes. So and I'll link this article and also the Whitehead Junior video in video description. If you want to go for it, you can also come to the Odin Project and start here. You'll also get the articles link here too. So that's it for today. Not for today, yeah, for now. See you in the next video. Also I'll try to add some, what do we say, the timestamp in this video. Also I'll try to make an better thumbnail this time. Okay, that's it. See you, goodbye, take care.